I'm bringing guys a brand new sports cards video. In today's video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I know a lot of the time I'm always talking about the cards that are going up in the market, but like all markets, there are definitely a handful of cards that are going down, and some are going down quite steeply. So I want to break down the cards that are going down and whether I think it's a good time to buy in or whether I think it's a good time to sell off personally. Now, before we get into that, I did want to say a little bit about our membership program. As you see here, on May 24th of 2021, our members were advised to buy up Jordan Poole's Prism Silver PSA 10s for $160 in a PSA 10. Most recently, this is a $780 card. It went as high as $989. So that's a very solid percentage increase right there. I think nearly a 5x return on their money, or actually, yeah, around 5x return on their money. So if you guys would like to join in on the program, make some money with us, the link will be down below to sportscardsinvest.com. But without further ado, we're going to hop right into this video. So the first card that has been going down quite a lot has been Zach LaVine, and his Prism. His Prism base currently is down 22% over the last 3 months. Of course, this was a card that was around $228 and has since nearly cut in half. Now, as we see here, this card went all the way down to $80. However, there have been some recent rumors that Zach LaVine could potentially be interested in doing a sign and trade to head to the Lakers. So there's been some recent excitement around Zach LaVine's market, and as we see here, we saw the sales go from $80 and $91, most recently back up to $119. Now, if we look at Zach LaVine's population compared to most other, stars in this league, his Prism base has a pop of just 505, and his Prism Silver has a pop of just 46. So I think it's very important for everyone to kind of keep their eye on Zach LaVine right now, because if he does end up getting traded for a card with this low of a population, if there's any spike in demand from his trade, this card is going to go to incredible places. We saw it when Zach LaVine had a great start to the season. This card has massive potential. I definitely think it's a good card to be stacking up on if you believe there's a chance he gets traded and if you believe in Zach LaVine himself. Because I'll tell you that, the upside is huge. I know there is obviously some downside, but given kind of Zach LaVine's improvement over the years, I personally think it's a good time to be buying up Zach LaVine's Prisms. Now, without further ado, we're going to hop right into the next pick, and that is going to be Donovan Mitchell and his Prism Silver PSA 10s. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at this. This is down to around $465, which is very, very low. This card was around $855 before the playoffs started in the regular season, and it's since cut in half. Now, a lot of this has been, of course, due to the Jazz, and, a lot of investors kind of giving up on the Jazz because they haven't really seen much success in the playoffs. And obviously, rightfully so, a lot of people have been selling off, but I do think this is another player who I personally believe in, and I think if Donovan Mitchell, does end up getting traded, that's going to cause his prices to do very, very well. Utah does not have the biggest or best fan base in terms of sports card, interest. So I definitely think it's a good time to be buying up. Keeping an eye on if Mitchell does end up leaving the Jazz, which at this point, a lot of people believe that he will leave the Jazz. And that's just because they have been very underwhelming in the playoffs. For as long as I can really remember, in the bubble, they had a good run, but since then, they haven't really done much in the playoffs. So I think that's really what's needed for Donovan Mitchell's cards to go to the next level. He's a young star. Of course, I don't think people deny his talent. I just think it's about him finding the right place to go, and finding himself in the right situation. So I definitely think it's a good time to be looking at Donovan Mitchell's cards, because $465 for a PSA 10 with a pop of just 568 is very low compared to other, key young stars. Even like Jason Tatum from his same year. We're going to go ahead and look at Tatum right now. So when these young players can, make a big stride in their game, we see prices doing, incredible numbers, right? So Tatum is currently more than 3x Mitchell. And that is simply because the Celtics have figured out how to win. And if Mitchell can figure out how to win too, I don't see why this wouldn't be a $1,500 card given his talent level and how, his potential that we've seen. For example, in the bubble when he was dropping those 50-point games. So I think it's a good time to be looking at Mitchell. But without further ado, we're going to hop right into our next pick, and that's going to be Trey Young. Trey Young, his cards have been very underwhelming this season. I'm not going to lie. I mean, $102 base Prism PSA 10. I get it. The population is extremely high. But this card is down 39% in the last 3 months. And same goes with his silver. I believe his silver is down even a little bit more. So I definitely think, so silver is down $277, down roughly 30%, all the way down to $660. So this is obviously, again, kind of an underwhelming playoff appearance from Trey Young and the Atlanta Hawks. They lost 4-1, I believe, to the Miami Heat. So I just think in general, Trey Young's market is very low right now. I think you have good potential in some of his variations. We all know Trey Young is a killer on the court. It's just about him also finding a way to win, finding himself, able to take the next step to really win games. And I think that's really what separated, once again, Jason Tatum. What separated Tatum from the rest of these young stars has been his ability to figure out how to win. And I think the Celtics this year have a good shot. And I think that's really causing a lot of interest to go towards Tatum's cards. Now, I think if Trey can figure it out over the next, 2-3 years, we're going to see his cards appreciate greatly. I just think it's a matter of time. I think you do have to be a little bit patient with these young stars because when they eventually find a way to win, and their team starts to perform very well, that is when we're starting to see the price increases because numbers nowadays will not cut it. Everybody in the league, all these young stars are putting up incredible numbers, but there are very few young stars able to win. And we're seeing that even right now with Jaws cards, right? Jaws cards are doing extremely well just because the Grizzlies are playing very well as a team. Not just him individually, but the overall team's playing very well. And as we see here, you have a $1,950 Prism Silver PSA 10 when, Trey's down to $660, and, of course, Donovan Mitchell down to $460. So I think it's a good time to be buying up those guys if you believe they can figure out how to win. Now, without further ado, we're going to hop right into our next pick, and that is going to be Joel Embiid. Now, Joel Embiid, unfortunately, has been sidelined for the first 2 games of the Heat series, and they, unfortunately, have dropped both the games. So, Joel Embiid and the Sixers without Joel Embiid, are down 2-0 right now. And I think this is really a crucial time for Joel's cards. Because if the Sixers can make the Eastern Conference Finals, now is an incredible time to buy. However, if they get knocked out, now is a great time to sell. So I think it really depends on whether you believe in whether you believe he's going to come back and turn the series around, or, I know there's obviously a lot of speculation that he will be back very soon, whether Game 3 or Game 4, but regardless, I think it could be a good time to buy if you believe in the Sixers, but I personally am staying away just because if the Sixers get knocked out, we're going to see Embiid's prices go down even further. This was a $460 card just around 2 weeks ago, currently down to $311, so we're already seeing prices really start to tank. So without further ado, we will hop right into our next pick, and that's going to be Kevin Durant's Black Tops. Now, Kevin Durant, of course, the Nets had a very underwhelming, postseason. Obviously, they were expected to be championship contenders. They were expected to have a chance to win it all, and that is simply not what happened. They got swept in the first round. So, obviously, right now, there's a lot of talk around Kevin Durant, whether he can lead a team without Steph Curry and the Warriors. So I think it's definitely a crucial moment for Kevin Durant's cards. I mean, this was a $4,000 card in February, and it's currently down to 2,400. So investors have got to be a little bit scared about Kevin Durant's cards right now. But I do think, given the talent Kevin Durant is, and has, I think if the Nets are able to turn it around next year, these cards are going to look so incredibly cheap. A PSA 9 with just a pop of 16, 18, sitting at $130 for an all-time talent like Kevin Durant seems like an incredible price. I do think it's going to take some time in the market to kind of mature, figure out, first of all, if the Nets can, get Simmons back, get Kyrie back, figure out a way to build a real team that can contend for championships. But at the moment, we're seeing a lot of scare in Kevin Durant's market, a lot of people selling off. This Topps Chrome is down 42%, down to just 1775. And when we compare that to even like LeBron's Topps Chrome, which even has a higher population, there is great room for growth there. His cards are around 1/4 the price of LeBron's and has half the population. So I definitely think there's some room for growth there in Kevin Durant. Now, the issue is, can they figure out how to win? Can they make some offseason moves to put themselves in a chance, to be championship contenders next year? Now, that's kind of what we have to see, but the upside is there, I'll tell you that much. Now it just kind of all lies on Kevin Durant and whether they're able to turn their season around. His Topps Chrome Refractor, the last comp on this is lower than it's been in so long. This was around a $60,000 to $70,000 card at its peak, and is currently around $12,000. Now, even when we look at like LeBron's Chrome Refractor with a higher population, that's around I would say almost 10x the price of KD's, right? Or around 6 to 7x the price of KD. So I definitely think it's a good opportunity. It all depends on whether you're a believer in the Nets and Kevin Durant. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you would like to join in on the program, the link will be down below to sportscardsinvest.com. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'm out. Peace.